Limerence always begins beautifully. It feels like fate, like lightning striking in the middle of an ordinary day. One look, one smile, one conversation, and suddenly your entire nervous system lights up. You tell yourself it's love. You tell yourself you've found the one. But what you've really found is a spark that doesn't just warm, it burns. Unlike love, which grows steady and deep, limerence is instant and consuming. It hijacks your focus, rewires your brain. You replay every word they said, every glance they gave you, dissecting it like sacred text. A passing compliment becomes proof of destiny. A smile becomes a promise. Silence feels like torture. And here's the cruel trick. The intensity convinces you it's real, realer than anything you've ever felt. Your heart races at their name. Your stomach flips when you see their message. You don't just like them, you crave them. It's intoxicating, it's addictive, and it feels impossible to resist. But the truth is, limerence isn't a gift. It's a trap, a spark designed to keep you chasing, burning through your energy until there's nothing left but ashes. What you call love is just the opening scene. What's coming next is obsession, uncertainty, and an emotional roller coaster you never agreed to ride. Because limerence doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for readiness. It arrives like fire in a dry forest. Beautiful, unstoppable, and already out of control. Chapter 2. The Obsession Loop. Once limerence takes hold, your mind stops belonging to you. It becomes a stage, and every scene is about them. You wake up thinking of their face. You fall asleep replaying their voice. In between, you're trapped in a loop of intrusive thoughts that never stop spinning. It feels less like attraction and more like possession. You don't choose to think of them. Your brain hijacks you, dragging their image into every moment. A meeting at work, a quiet dinner, even time with friends. The obsession cuts through like static, pulling your focus away from everything else. And it's not just the thoughts, it's the interpretation. Every detail becomes evidence. A delayed reply means rejection. A quick smile means hope. A neutral gesture gets magnified into hidden meaning. You start reading reality like a code only you can crack, convinced the universe is sending signals through them. This is the limerence trap. The more uncertain it feels, the deeper you fall. The mind craves resolution, but resolution never comes. So it spins faster and faster, convincing you that thinking harder, analyzing deeper, will finally give you the answer. But answers never arrive. Only more questions, more longing, more obsession. Love nourishes, limerence consumes, and the obsession loop is proof. You're not building a connection, you're circling a drain. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Reciprocation. In limerence, reality doesn't matter as much as interpretation. A glance, a laugh, a single word. They're no longer just gestures. They become proof. You stitch meaning into every movement, convincing yourself that what you feel must be mirrored back. They liked your post? That's a sign. They didn't reply for hours? That's a test. They remembered something small you said weeks ago? That's destiny. Your brain turns crumbs into feasts. You start to believe in a story that may not exist outside your head. The smallest shred of attention feels like oxygen, and you gulp it down as if it were love itself. But here's the cruel twist. Silence hurts more than rejection. Because silence doesn't close the door. It leaves it cracked, just enough for your imagination to slip through. And imagination is where limerence thrives. You don't need certainty, you just need possibility. So you build a fantasy, brick by brick, out of half smiles and unfinished sentences. You convince yourself they must feel something too. How could they not? Look at the way they looked at you. Listen to the way they said your name. But it's not reciprocation. It's projection. You're not reading their heart. You're reading your own desires reflected back like a mirror. And mirrors don't love you. They only show you yourself. Chapter 4. Dopamine and Withdrawal. Limerence runs on the same circuitry as addiction. Every glance, every message, every scrap of attention lights up your brain like fireworks. Dopamine floods in, and for a moment, you feel alive. It's not just joy, it's euphoria. The kind that makes your chest burn and your stomach flip. The kind that convinces you this must be love. But what goes up must come down. And with limerence, the crash is brutal. One ignored text, one neutral expression, one evening without contact, and suddenly the euphoria collapses into withdrawal. Your mind spirals. You replay conversations. You invent explanations. You search for signs of hope to ease the ache. It feels less like affection and more like dependency. You're not just drawn to them, you need them. Their attention becomes the drug, and you are the addict. When they notice you, the world glows. When they don't, the world caves in. And the cruelest part? The unpredictability keeps you hooked. You never know when the next high is coming, so you wait, obsess, analyze, and crave. The uncertainty is torture, and it's also what makes the cycle unbreakable. This isn't romance, it's roulette. Every interaction spins the wheel, ecstasy or despair, and no matter how much it hurts, you keep playing, convinced that the next turn will finally deliver the jackpot of certainty you crave. But certainty never comes. Only more spins. Chapter 5. The Collapse of Reality. At first, limerence feels like an escape from reality. Life seems brighter, sharper, more alive, but slowly, the obsession stops being a lens and becomes a prison. The world shrinks until it only contains two things: them and your thoughts about them. Work suffers, friendships fade, even your own goals feel hollow. You sit in meetings replaying a smile. You lie awake at night dissecting a text. You stop living your life because their imagined life with you has taken over. Reality bends under the weight of fantasy. You excuse their indifference. You rewrite their words to fit your story. You ignore contradictions, red flags, even your own needs, all in service of the illusion. And the more you lose yourself, the more desperate you become. You're not nourished by the connection. You're starved by it. You live on scraps of hope, crumbs of attention, shadows of meaning. And in the process, your sense of self starts to erode. Limerence doesn't just make you long for someone. It makes you forget who you are without them. It convinces you that happiness is locked inside their approval, their attention, their love. But here's the brutal truth. When you hand your identity over to a fantasy, reality eventually collapses. And when it does, you're left with nothing. Not love, not connection, just the hollow echo of everything you abandoned for a dream that never truly existed. Chapter 6. The Breaking Point. Every fantasy has a limit, and with limerence, that limit comes in a single devastating moment. The realization that they are human, not a soulmate, not a savior, just a person, flawed, inconsistent, imperfect. At first you fight it, you rationalize, you tell yourself they're just tired, just busy, just distracted. But deep down, the cracks are showing. The pedestal begins to wobble. The illusion no longer fits the reality. This is the breaking point. The moment when the rush turns into ache, when the obsession can no longer sustain itself on fantasy alone. For some, it arrives in a brutal rejection. For others, in the slow decay of indifference. But however it comes, the effect is the same. The high collapses into despair. It feels like withdrawal, heartbreak, and identity crisis all at once. You're not just losing them. You're losing the version of yourself that only existed in their reflection. And that's why it hurts so deeply. It's not about them. It's about the story you built, the meaning you gave them, the fantasy you fed with every thought. The breaking point isn't just painful. It's clarifying. It shows you the difference between love and limerence. Love grows in truth. Limerence shatters in it. And when the illusion finally breaks, you're left with a choice. Rebuild yourself, or keep chasing another fantasy to fill the void. Final chapter. Escaping the prison limerence feels like destiny, but it's really a trap. A prison built not by them, but by your own mind. And like any prison, escape doesn't come from waiting for the walls to fall. It comes from realizing the door was never locked. The first step is brutal honesty. Admit what this really is. Not love, not connection, but obsession fueled by uncertainty and fantasy. Stop feeding the illusion with endless analysis. Stop mistaking silence for mystery and crumbs for feasts. Call it what it is: limerence. The second step is reclamation. Reclaim the energy you've poured into them and redirect it back into yourself. The same fire that consumed you can fuel growth, creativity, and self-respect. Because limerence doesn't mean you're broken. It means your capacity for passion has been hijacked. Take it back. And the final step is choice. Love is never about losing yourself in another person. It's about showing up as a whole person, grounded in reality, choosing and being chosen in return. That can't happen while you're trapped in fantasy, but it can happen once you step outside of it. The prison of limerence feels unbreakable when you're inside it. But the truth is, the walls are made of paper. And the moment you stop mistaking fantasy for love, the moment you stop waiting for them to save you, that's the moment you realize you were holding the key all along. If you've ever felt trapped in the prison of limerence, if you've ever lost yourself in obsession and called it love, you know how heavy that silence feels. You're not alone. Many are living the same story right now, in secret. If that's you, type the word prison in the comments. Not for pity, but as a declaration. You see the walls now. You're naming them. And naming them is the first step to breaking free.